Now, if you need to stand up and stretch, go ahead. I know it's been a little bit. We have a few more people. I just want to kind of give you an update as to where we've been. And really, this is a legal process. That's why I came out in my role. You've heard a lot of stories today and a lot of terminology. I'm just going to kind of very quickly work you through the process in which children see me, in which families see me, and in which this process goes. So you've heard about children taken out of home. About 72, within the next day after a child's detained, they're brought to see the commission. He looks a lot like me. He's not me, but he's a commissioner. And he makes that decision on what's going to happen in the short term. We are blessed in Kenosha. Our district attorneys work very hard and cooperatively with our division, and generally within 72 hours, we have a formal petition on this family going forward. So if it's going to come into the court system, it comes in fast, and here's why. We're all parents, or we have been parents, or we've known parents, or we've seen parenting. And in all those situations, I think we would all agree when it comes to discipline, two things are important: immediacy and certainty. The reason for that is because if you punish a child for something they did months ago, the child's not going to make the connection between the punishment and the action. It's the same thing with parents in trouble. Parents who are basically have their children taken away see it as a punishment. But if they don't have the connection to why everything's going on, it just seems unfair. It seems like the whole system's against them, they don't get it. The longer the system drags on, the harder it is for that parent to make changes. We've all made changes in our life, and it takes that internal sense of needing to change for a change to occur. Sometimes external factors help that. So it's very important that the system move efficiently. The way I try to describe the system to everyone, new judges, new attorneys and such, is this. The Child in Need of Protection Services system, if you took it as 100%, the first 10% is confrontational, the next 80% is cooperation, and the last 10% is confrontation. My role as a judge is to keep the confrontational portions fair to everyone, and in the middle, I'm the cheerleader trying to get everyone to move in the same direction, even though they had just been in conflict with each other in the first part of it. So a case will come into the system with a petition. Within 30 days, that petition will then come into my courtroom. At that point, the parents may or may not have attorneys. It's not like a criminal case where an attorney is appointed for free. Some of them get free attorneys for various reasons. Some don't. Some pay for their own attorneys. Some don't. Some go at it and go through the system without an attorney. A guardian ad litem is appointed. That's a person whose job it is to represent the best interests of the child. They're a lawyer for the child. Now, for children over the age of 12, they get their own attorney. It's called an advocate counsel. And so all of those individuals come into the court system and will come to see me. The first time I see a case is at trial. Not a lot of these cases go to trial. A lot of them, there are admissions entered or pleas entered, and we go straight to disposition. Then my goal is to answer these questions. Where does the child go? Is the child going home? Is the child staying in foster care? Is the child going to a relative? Is the child going into shelter care or a residential treatment facility? My next question is going to be, what services does the division have to do to help this family get back together? And then finally, the last thing I have to do at that moment is tell the parents, here's what you got to do, the conditions of return. Here's the things you have to do to get your kid back with you. And I'm not a checkmark box judge. The conditions of return aren't a magic check box that you check off the boxes and get your kid. No. It's all about the safety of the child. If some of the boxes are unchecked, but it's safe to send the kid home, we're going to send the kid home. If all the boxes are checked and it's not safe yet, the boxes might be checked, but it's not safe. And so, as you've heard, permanency planning happens every 6 months after a child's is removed from care. I take care of those myself. One blessing that Kenosha has is the judges, and I'm not giving my credit to myself, this is a judge-wide decision. We decided that we were going to review perm plans every 6 months. State only requires once a year, but we agreed as a judiciary, these cases are important enough, we're going to see them every 6 months, because we want to know how things are going. And in those hearings, foster parents will show up, and I met with a bunch of foster parents last night, and they express some frustration about those hearings. Because in those hearings, as a judge, you're really kind of having to cheerlead parents and kind of be the encourager. And that encouragement can take many forms of go, 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 or what the heck are you doing? Do you realize what's going to happen? Just like you encourage other people in your lives. Sometimes one method works a little bit better than others. So every 6 months I see these perm plans, and I have to make this decision. Where's the ship heading? Are we heading for reunification back to home? Are we heading for an adoption? Are we heading for guardianship with a parent, or I'm sorry, with a relative? Or sadly, are we heading nowhere quickly? And that happens every so often. Now I told you that middle 80% when I'm perm planning, that's where I'm the cheerleader. That's where I'm like, come on parents, get it together, get it going, you can do it. You know, or why aren't you meeting with your social worker? What's going on? Do you realize what's at stake? That's kind of my job in that moment. Sadly, I have another job, and you heard a little bit about it from Lisa just a moment ago, and that is TPR, so that's that last 10%. I have to put that different hat on again. I'm no longer the cheerleader, I'm no longer the encourager, I'm no longer the one going, you rah rah, let's get this going. I'm now the judge who has to make the decision on whether or not to sever, whether or not to say this family is no longer. Now, the jury, and sometimes me, decides grounds, but in the end, the judge decides if it's in the best interest of the child. And so that's one of the rules that I have to do. And then, sadly, if the case gets all the way to that point where we've severed the relationship because it's in the best interest of the child for the parents not to be the parents anymore, I do get one last joy, and that is I get to preside over adoptions, which are some of the greatest parts of my job. It's a challenging job. It's a wonderful job. But I'm going to steal Ms. Laboratore's speech from a little while ago and say, that's what I'm called to do. I look at each one of these children that come before me as my kids. I know that sounds weird, maybe a little possessive, but I really read the honor rolls every time in the paper looking for my kids. For delinquencies, for kids who come through in care. Because at the end of the day, that's why we're all doing this. That's the reason why I get up. To be honest with you, I like being a judge. I love it. It's the greatest job I've ever privileged for. But to be honest with you, I don't get up so people call me Your Honor and so I can wear this black robe. I get up every morning to make that difference for the kids. And so do a lot of people that you've seen. So we have a few more speakers, and then I'll come up and kind of close us. I know you've been seated for a while, and we appreciate it. We will be around for questions afterwards. I thank you for your patience. Who's next? Oh, Diane's back. So I will